Hello, brothers, and welcome to Sigma Old Man channel. Power isn't loud. Power is the one person in the room who doesn't need to explain himself. Most people don't realize this, but according to behavioral psychology research, humans instinctively react stronger to unpredictable confidence than to loud dominance. And that's exactly why Sigma males accidentally intimidate people. They don't perform power. They embody it without trying. Their silence isn't empty, their calm isn't weakness, and their lack of effort is the very thing that makes everyone else start sweating bullets. While others are out here running social marathons, trying to prove they matter, the Sigma male is the guy who simply exists. And somehow that existence alone rearranges the entire emotional temperature of the room. People straighten up, conversations shift, egos shrink, and someone in the corner suddenly remembers they left their self-esteem at home. And the funniest part, he has no idea any of this is happening. Sigmas don't walk around thinking, yes, let me intimidate these mortals. No, they're usually thinking something simple like, why is everyone acting weird? I'm literally just standing here. But there's a reason for it. A psychological one, an energetic one, and sometimes a brutally honest one that exposes just how fragile most people actually are. Today, we're diving into the 12 signs a Sigma male is far more intimidating than he realizes. Not because he's trying to be threatening, but because his very nature disrupts comfort zones, exposes insecurities, and challenges the unspoken rules of modern social behavior. This isn't the cliché, he's mysterious nonsense. This is the real, raw, subconscious impact a Sigma has on everyone around him. Let's get into it. Number 1, he holds his goals privately, which makes people nervous. One of the most quietly terrifying things about a Sigma male is how intensely private he is about his ambitions. He doesn't post his plans on social media, brag about his goals at dinner parties, or drop hints to make people admire him. He keeps it all to himself, moving forward silently, calculating each step in the shadows. This level of discretion is unusual in a world where everyone seems desperate to showcase success, and it makes people around him unsettled without them even understanding why. When others constantly talk about their plans, their dreams, or the next big thing they're chasing, it creates a predictable pattern. People feel in control when they can anticipate the next move. A Sigma disrupts that pattern completely. He moves with purpose, but because he never announces it, no one can read his next step. This uncertainty makes observers anxious. They begin to fill the gaps in their minds, often imagining him accomplishing far more than he actually is, which exaggerates his presence in their perception. This quiet privacy also communicates unspoken confidence. When a Sigma doesn't need validation, approval, or recognition, it triggers an unconscious comparison. People begin to wonder why he doesn't feel the need to brag. Are his goals bigger than ours? Is he capable of something we couldn't even attempt? That tension alone is intimidating. Even casual acquaintances feel it. Friends, colleagues, and strangers pick up on the fact that his world is his own, tightly controlled and undisturbed by external noise. They can sense the potential, even if it's hidden. It's a form of power that doesn't shout. It exists quietly, but it's impossible to ignore. The Sigma male's private goals are a mirror to everyone else's insecurity. They expose how much noise people make about their lives to feel relevant. While others are busy performing their ambitions for attention, he's actually building them, moving silently, steadily, and deliberately. And that quiet, unstoppable momentum is far more intimidating than any loud display of power. It's the unseen, unspoken, and uncompromising pursuit of his path that makes him unknowingly frightening, leaving everyone else scrambling to keep up long before they even understand what he's capable of. Number 2, he holds eye contact with precision, not emotion. A sigma. Male's gaze isn't about intimidation in the obvious, aggressive sense. He doesn't glare, he doesn't smolder, and he rarely tries to look powerful. Instead, he holds eye contact with a precision that feels like a scalpel, measured, deliberate, and unnervingly accurate. When he looks at someone, it's as if he's observing them, scanning for truth, inconsistencies, and intent, without ever saying a word. That kind of attention makes people uneasy because it bypasses surface-level conversation and gets straight to their subconscious. The power of this gaze lies in its subtlety. Most people are used to emotional cues, smiles, frowns, raised eyebrows, and they interpret these signals constantly to understand intentions. The Sigma male removes that noise. He communicates nothing emotionally, yet everything gets conveyed. People start to feel exposed, even though he hasn't accused, criticized, or complimented them. His eyes simply reflect awareness, and that level of awareness is intimidating because it can't be negotiated with, ignored, or deceived. There's also a psychological weight to the precision of his eye contact. People instinctively know when someone is observing them in detail. They start to overthink gestures, words, and even their posture. The Sigma male doesn't force this reaction. It happens naturally. His calm, measured stare is a mirror that silently forces others to confront themselves. They begin questioning motives they didn't even realize they had, doubting the casual confidence they normally exude. This is why Sigma males can control a room without speaking. The gaze alone creates tension, compels honesty, and demands awareness from anyone in its path. It's not a stare meant to dominate. It's a quiet form of command that tests boundaries and perception. People feel judged without judgment, analyzed without accusation, and that combination is far more unsettling than any overt threat. Ultimately, his eye contact is a tool of subtle dominance, a silent authority that exposes more than words ever could. It's precise, calm, and unnervingly effective. And most people never realize that the moment they lock eyes with a Sigma male, they are already being measured against a standard they can't articulate, let alone meet. Number 3, people talk about him more than he talks to them. One of the most quietly powerful and intimidating traits of a Sigma male is that he doesn't need to fill the air with words for people to notice him or to make his presence felt. While most people are desperate to be seen, heard, or liked, the Sigma simply exists, and that existence sparks conversations, speculation, and curiosity among others. People talk about him more than he ever talks about himself, and that dynamic creates a subtle but intense psychological power. This happens because humans are wired to respond to mystery and control. When someone keeps their life, thoughts, and motives largely to themselves, it forces observers to fill in the gaps. Minds start racing to interpret every action, word, or glance. People exaggerate his influence in their own minds, attributing strategic thinking, hidden wealth, or exceptional talent that may not even exist. The Sigma male rarely encourages this. He's indifferent, but the effect is profound. Others project, speculate, and without realizing it, elevate his status simply by talking about him. The beauty of this dynamic is that it shifts control subtly into his hands. He doesn't have to assert authority, demand respect, or manipulate attention. People do it for him. Their discussions, whispers, and assumptions amplify his presence far beyond any action he takes. He becomes a benchmark, a reference point, a quiet standard everyone measures themselves against. The more people talk, the more his influence spreads, and the more others unconsciously bend to his unseen rhythm. This unintentional dominance is deeply intimidating because it's invisible and unstoppable. While loud personalities grab attention with effort, a Sigma's quiet existence commands it effortlessly. He doesn't force respect. He earns it silently through the way others interpret and amplify his presence. By the time people realize it, they're already inside his orbit. subtly shaped by him without direct interaction. In the end, being discussed more than speaking isn't just a quirk. It's a strategic advantage encoded in his very nature. It's the kind of influence that feels almost unfair to those around him, leaving them restless, curious, and unsettled, all while he continues his life without even acknowledging the ripple he creates. Number 4, his honesty doesn't come wrapped in sugar, so people brace themselves. One of the most striking things about a Sigma male is the raw, unfiltered honesty he delivers without even thinking about it. He doesn't sugarcoat his words to make people feel comfortable, and he doesn't soften the truth to maintain approval. He says what needs to be said with surgical precision, and the effect is profoundly disarming. People instinctively tense up around him because they know his words carry weight, even if he isn't trying to intimidate. This isn't the kind of honesty that comes with judgment or condescension. It's just reality, delivered plainly and without performance. When a Sigma male speaks, he strips away pretenses, exaggerations, and social padding, leaving only the core truth. People instinctively sense that they can't manipulate him with flattery or hide behind lies. That level of clarity makes others nervous because it exposes them in ways they didn't anticipate. They feel caught in a mental spotlight, even when he isn't looking for anything. What makes this even more intimidating is the unpredictability. He doesn't announce when he's going to be blunt, and he doesn't play games with people's expectations. His words land with the calmness of someone who isn't concerned about how they'll be received. That calm detachment forces people to listen, absorb, and often reevaluate themselves. Unlike loud or aggressive personalities, he doesn't need to dominate a conversation to have an effect. The truth itself is enough. People brace themselves around a Sigma male because they know he's capable of piercing through facades effortlessly. There's a quiet tension created simply by knowing he won't pretend, flatter, or indulge in security. His honesty acts like a mirror, reflecting reality in ways most people aren't prepared to face, and that reflection is often more intimidating than any confrontation. Ultimately, his unvarnished truth isn't just honesty. It's a subtle form of power. It reshapes conversations, exposes motives, and unsettles egos without drama. People feel the impact deeply, and even when he walks away, the weight of what he said lingers, leaving others quietly aware that they just crossed paths with someone who sees much more than they expected. Number 5, he makes confident people second-guess themselves. One of the most quietly unsettling traits of a Sigma male is his ability to make even the most confident people pause, rethink, and adjust without saying a word. He doesn't attack, compete, or challenge openly. He simply exists with a level of self-containment and authenticity that subtly exposes the cracks in others' projected confidence. People who normally walk into a room believing they are untouchable suddenly start over-analyzing their words, their posture, and even the way they breathe. It's not about arrogance or dominance. It's about presence. The Sigma male isn't trying to intimidate. He isn't performing or showing off. He operates on a calm, self-assured wavelength that signals to everyone around him that he is entirely comfortable in his skin. This makes people who rely on external validation feel uneasy. Their loudness, jokes, or forced charm, which usually works like a social shield, suddenly feels ineffective. They sense, on a subconscious level, that he isn't impressed, and that alone is enough to destabilize them. Even seasoned leaders or high-status individuals feel it. They start to subconsciously edit their behavior, second-guess their decisions, and hesitate before speaking. The Sigma male doesn't offer criticism or advice, but the clarity of his awareness acts as a mirror that highlights weaknesses, pretenses, and insecurities in others. People feel evaluated, not overtly, but with the quiet precision of someone who notices everything without needing to react. This effect is amplified by his silence and observation. While others are busy trying to fill spaces with noise, the Sigma male's calm detachment draws attention, forcing people to step into a more self-conscious version of themselves. They may not even understand why they feel exposed or nervous. They just know that something about his presence unsettles their confidence. In essence, he doesn't compete or dominate. He destabilizes by being unshakable. That quiet power is more intimidating than any brash display because it makes people confront themselves, question their own abilities, and recognize that they are being measured against a standard they never agreed to but instinctively respect. The Sigma male's presence alone can quietly dismantle the bravado of even the most self-assured individuals. Number 6. People assume he knows more than he reveals. A Sigma male has a way of making people believe he's always several steps ahead, even when he's barely said a word. It's not that he's constantly scheming or trying to impress. It's the way he carries himself, quiet, observant, and deliberate, that convinces others he has a hidden depth they can't touch. People instinctively fill in the blanks, assuming he has knowledge, insight, or strategy far beyond what he actually shares, and that assumption alone creates an unshakable intimidation factor. This effect comes from his minimalism in communication. He doesn't over-explain, over-justify, or overshare, which frustrates and fascinates those around him. When someone drops a subtle remark, he might respond with a simple nod, a carefully chosen word, or even silence. That restraint triggers a mental reaction. People start reading into every movement, analyzing every inflection, and projecting intelligence onto him that may or may not exist. The Sigma doesn't need to claim authority. People grant it to him automatically, and it's far more powerful because it's unearned in the traditional sense. It also creates a sense of unpredictability. People feel they can't anticipate his next move, his reaction, or his thoughts. That unpredictability makes them cautious, hesitant, and even a little nervous. They overestimate his capability, and that overestimation gives him influence without him having to assert it. While most individuals work hard to appear smart or strategic, the Sigma achieves the same effect effortlessly by simply being self-contained and observant. This quiet projection of assumed knowledge is profoundly intimidating because it undermines others' confidence without confrontation. People second-guess their own understanding, their assumptions, and even their decisions simply because they feel he's aware of more than they are. In the end, the Sigma male's understated intelligence isn't measured by what he reveals, but by what others believe he knows. That invisible weight, built from observation, silence, and precision, makes him a presence people respect, fear, and can't stop analyzing, even when he's not actively trying to lead, teach, or dominate. Number 7. His neutral face gets interpreted as a silent evaluation. One of the most quietly intimidating aspects of a Sigma male is his neutral expression. He isn't trying to intimidate, impress, or manipulate, but the way he holds himself leaves people feeling exposed. His face doesn't broadcast emotion, approval, or judgment, yet people instinctively assume it does. That blank, calm exterior becomes a mirror, reflecting their own insecurities, anxieties, and pretenses, and it can make even the most confident individuals second-guess themselves. People are wired to read faces constantly. A smile, a frown, a raised eyebrow. They all carry social signals that help others navigate interactions. When a Sigma male doesn't provide those signals, it throws people off balance. They don't know what he's thinking, how he feels, or whether he's impressed or critical. That uncertainty creates tension, and humans naturally respond to tension with caution, curiosity, and sometimes fear. Without realizing it, People start overanalyzing every word they say, every gesture they make, trying to anticipate his reaction to avoid disapproval or embarrassment. What makes this even more powerful is that the Sigma male rarely changes his expression deliberately. He's not calculating this effect. It's simply a byproduct of his self-containment. The neutrality of his face communicates awareness and observation in a way that loud words or exaggerated gestures cannot. People assume there's an inner commentary, an invisible judgment happening in his mind, and that assumption amplifies his presence exponentially. Even in casual interactions, this silent evaluation unsettles people. Friends, colleagues, and strangers all instinctively behave differently around him. They adjust their tone, their posture, their stories, all because his expression gives nothing away. It's like standing in front of a mirror that doesn't lie, but doesn't explain either, leaving them to confront what they might be hiding or exaggerating. Ultimately, his neutral face is a form of understated power. It doesn't demand attention or respect. It simply commands it by making people aware that they are being observed in a way they cannot fully control. That quiet, unavoidable scrutiny is more intimidating than any overt display of dominance, and most people don't even realize why they feel that tension in his presence. Number 8, people feel seen through, even when he didn't notice them. A Sigma male has a rare kind of presence that makes people feel exposed without him even trying. He isn't staring, interrogating, or analyzing consciously, yet there's an energy about him that gives the impression he can see straight through pretense, insecurity, and hidden motives. People instinctively sense that he notices far more than he lets on, and that perception alone makes him quietly intimidating. This effect stems from his observation skills and self-containment. He moves through social situations fully aware of the nuances most people miss: small gestures, fleeting expressions, the way someone shifts their weight when uncomfortable. He doesn't comment on these observations, but people can feel them. It creates a subtle psychological pressure, a sense that their inner thoughts or concealed intentions are somehow exposed. Even strangers adjust their behavior around him, smoothing over small quirks, altering their tone, or carefully selecting words they normally wouldn't think twice about. What makes this even more powerful is that he rarely acknowledges it. He isn't playing games, he isn't manipulating attention, and he doesn't need to prove his insight. His awareness just exists quietly, and that silent recognition is enough to make people rethink how they present themselves. They feel scrutinized even when he hasn't spoken a single word to them. The mind, left to its own devices, assumes he understands far more than he actually does, and that assumption amplifies his aura of quiet authority. Even confident, socially skilled individuals sense it. They instinctively pause, reconsider, or subtly hedge their behavior, aware on some level that the Sigma male could detect motives and intentions they normally hide from the world. It's an almost invisible form of power, one that doesn't require confrontation or dominance, yet produces a strong psychological effect. Ultimately, a Sigma male's ability to make people feel seen through is less about insight and more about presence. It's the combination of awareness, calmness, and self-possession that creates an unspoken tension. People leave interactions with him aware that their carefully constructed social mask didn't go unnoticed, and that realization is far more intimidating than any deliberate act of intimidation could ever be. Number 9, strangers. Treat him like he has social authority. He never asked for a Sigma. Male has a presence that naturally commands respect, and the strangest part is that he rarely asks for it. People instinctively treat him as if he holds social authority, even when he's in a room full of strangers or among people with higher visible status. It's not about power plays, loud declarations, or dominance. It's the quiet assurance he carries that convinces others he belongs on a different level. This effect is subtle but profoundly intimidating because it bypasses logic and taps directly into instinct. When a Sigma male enters a group, conversations shift. People pause, tone changes, and subtle deference begins to emerge without anyone consciously realizing it. They wait for his opinion, gauge their statements against his reactions, and often overcompensate to impress or align with him. He isn't orchestrating this. It happens naturally because his self-contained energy signals competence, focus, and independence, qualities that others unconsciously recognize as leadership traits. That instinctive acknowledgement of authority can unnerve even highly confident individuals. What makes it so exceptional is that he doesn't conform to the typical rules of social validation. He doesn't seek attention, join cliques, or chase approval. Instead, he operates according to his own standards, which creates a paradox. People sense he doesn't need their acceptance, yet they feel compelled to offer it. That imbalance subtly shifts control toward him, and the effect is amplified by his calm, observant nature. Even strangers, who have no reason to respect him, often find themselves adjusting their behavior. They speak more carefully, hesitate before interrupting, or unconsciously try to read his reactions. They act as though he has unspoken authority, not because he demanded it, but because his very presence exudes a quiet certainty that most people cannot match. Ultimately, a Sigma male's unintentional social authority is a psychological power that works silently. He doesn't enforce it, he simply embodies it. People feel it, respond to it, and sometimes fear it long before they even realize why. That makes him intimidating in ways that are invisible, unavoidable, and profoundly effective. Number 10. People edit their personality around him without knowing why. One of the most fascinating and quietly intimidating traits of a Sigma male is how people naturally adjust their behavior around him without even realizing it. He doesn't give orders, assert dominance, or demand attention, yet his presence alone makes people edit the way they speak, move, and interact. They become more careful with their words, more measured with their actions, and sometimes even more reserved than usual. It's not conscious, it's instinctual. They sense at a subconscious level that their usual behaviors won't land the same way around him. This happens because a Sigma male emits a type of calm confidence that doesn't require validation from others. He doesn't need approval, he doesn't crave attention, and he isn't performing for social acceptance. That self-contained energy is disorienting for most people, who are accustomed to environments where social cues and hierarchies are obvious and predictable. Around him, the usual rules don't apply. People instinctively test, adjust, and overcompensate because they feel their typical behavior might be inadequate, or worse, noticed and judged. The effect is subtle but powerful. Friends, colleagues, and even strangers unconsciously monitor themselves, choosing words more carefully, speaking slower, or acting more polite than they normally would. It's not that the Sigma male is actively evaluating them. He's simply existing with a presence that radiates awareness and independence. That quiet influence creates a sense of psychological pressure that can make people feel exposed or off balance, even when he hasn't interacted with them directly. This dynamic is incredibly intimidating because it operates beneath the surface. People feel compelled to adjust to him without understanding why, which amplifies his aura of control. Unlike those who use noise, charisma, or force to command attention, the Sigma male achieves influence effortlessly. His presence alone reshapes the social environment, bending interactions subtly to his energy, and leaving others aware, consciously or not, that they are sharing space with someone who operates on a level they can't quite reach or predict. In essence, people editing themselves around him isn't about fear. It's about instinctive recognition of competence, awareness, and unshakable self-possession. It's a quiet form of power that makes him profoundly intimidating without him ever trying. Number 11. People try to impress him without realizing it. One of the most subtle yet powerful signs of a Sigma male's influence is how people naturally try to impress him without him ever asking for it. He doesn't demand attention, flaunt status, or seek validation, yet his presence sets an invisible standard that others instinctively measure themselves against. Strangers, colleagues, and even friends unconsciously elevate their behavior. They exaggerate achievements, speak more intelligently, and act more composed than usual, all because being around him creates a mirror for how they want to be perceived. This happens because a Sigma male embodies self-contained confidence. He isn't performing for anyone, doesn't boast about accomplishments, and isn't vying for social approval. That absence of need becomes a benchmark. People pick up on the fact that he operates without craving recognition or validation, and it subtly forces them to overcompensate to meet that quiet standard. The more authentic and unaffected he is, the stronger this effect becomes. It's almost as if his very being silently says, "I don't need to prove anything, so why are you pretending?" The fascinating part is that he rarely realizes the power this creates. He's simply living according to his own rules, pursuing his goals, and maintaining his boundaries. Meanwhile, those around him are unknowingly performing for his approval, or what they imagine his approval might be. This can manifest in subtle ways. Someone corrects their posture, chooses words more carefully, over-explains a story, or emphasizes their successes. All of it is subconscious, yet it signals the Sigma male's invisible influence. This dynamic is quietly intimidating because it highlights how effortlessly he shifts social energy without confrontation. People feel the pressure to measure up, to impress, and to behave better, and they often don't even understand why. He's not pushing them. He's simply existing with a presence that demands authenticity and subtly exposes pretension. In the end, a Sigma male doesn't need to tell anyone who he is or what he wants. People's behavior around him naturally elevates, reflects respect, and even breeds a little nervous admiration. That unspoken influence is one of the most profound and overlooked forms of intimidation he wields without even trying. Number 12. His calmness feels like power to people running on anxiety. One of the most quietly disarming traits of a Sigma male is his unwavering calm. He doesn't need to raise his voice, assert dominance, or perform bravado to make an impact. His emotional stillness is a kind of invisible power that amplifies itself when surrounded by people who thrive on chaos, drama, or constant validation. Those who are anxious, restless, or dependent on external noise suddenly feel exposed because his serenity acts like a spotlight on their internal turbulence. While most people are used to filling spaces with chatter, reactions, and emotional displays, a Sigma male doesn't play that game. He approaches life with measured composure, moving and speaking in ways that signal control, awareness, and confidence. When others are driven by anxiety, the contrast is stark. Their fidgeting, over-talking, and impulsive reactions stand out more than ever because they are reflected against his calm. It's not that he's judging them, it's that his stillness highlights how unsteady their own energy really is. This quiet power is almost hypnotic. People around him can't help but notice it, and they instinctively start adjusting themselves. They slow down, reconsider their words, or try to regain a sense of control because being near someone so grounded exposes their own instability. His calmness doesn't just affect the room, it forces reflection. In the subconscious hierarchy of social dynamics, people recognize that this kind of steady, controlled energy is far more formidable than loud confidence or flashy displays. Even in high-pressure situations, his stillness commands respect. A Sigma male doesn't need to react emotionally to threats, manipulation, or chaos. His poise signals that he isn't easily shaken, and that unshakable presence makes others, especially those fueled by anxiety, feel small, overexposed, and subtly off balance. Ultimately, his calmness is a silent assertion of power. It doesn't intimidate through aggression or volume. It unsettles by contrast. People leave interactions with a Sigma male aware of their own storms, while he continues unaffected, quietly demonstrating that true strength is often found not in noise, but in the steady control of oneself. In the end, the Sigma male's power isn't loud, flashy, or desperate for attention. It's quiet, subtle, and profoundly psychological. Every glance, every pause, every unspoken thought carries weight, not because he wants it to, but because his very existence disrupts social expectations and exposes insecurities without ever raising a finger. He doesn't compete for dominance. He simply embodies a level of self-possession, clarity, and independence that forces people to react, to adjust, to question, and sometimes even to admire or fear him without fully understanding why. From the way people unconsciously edit their behavior around him, to the silent evaluation his neutral expression communicates, the Sigma male reshapes his environment in ways most people can't resist or control. His calmness is magnetic, his privacy is intimidating, and his honesty is disarming. Every interaction leaves a subtle ripple, a mark on others' perception that lingers long after he's gone. This is the kind of influence that can't be measured by traditional social metrics. It's invisible, instinctive, and utterly unstoppable. Recognizing these signs isn't just about understanding Sigma males. It's about appreciating the rare kind of power that doesn't need validation, loud displays, or control to be effective. It's a reminder that true intimidation isn't about aggression or force. It's about presence, precision, and self-mastery. And once you understand it, you begin to see why a Sigma male quietly commands respect, shapes behavior, and leaves a lasting impression on everyone he encounters. If you found this breakdown insightful, make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss more content that dives deep into understanding personalities and hidden powers. Hit that like button if this resonated, comment below with your thoughts or experiences, and share it with someone who needs to see how subtle, invisible influence really works. The more you observe these traits, the more you'll start noticing them everywhere. And that awareness itself is a step toward mastering social dynamics like a Sigma.